Hi, we're doing something different this week on the podcast because all four of us are here. So, hi, I'm Paul.
Hi, I'm Rob.
Hi, I'm Ricky.
And hi, I'm Rich.
And we're all from Thinking Focus.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
So, the question is, have we accidentally created two tribes?
The question is from Thinking Focus, a podcast about how we sometimes get in our own way and what we can do about it.
Have we accidentally created two tribes?
What do you mean by that, Paul? What context?
Well, I think you kind of, particularly around current lockdown, where we've got organisations where some people are furloughed, some people are working, some people are still in the office, some people are at home and working from home now. And it's starting to feel like that we might inadvertently, in the kind of necessity of having to do lockdown, broken our company into tribes. And it might not be two, it might be 3 or 4 tribes, but we've broken it into tribes that are now not necessarily warring, but see each other differently. So teams that used to be really well connected and united are now teams of people who are still working or teams of people who are furloughed.
So there's definitely an identity that's been created about where am I and what am I doing? Where is somebody else or the rest of my team and what are they doing?
Yeah.
Whereas maybe from the beginning of all of this situation, we probably had a common purpose and we probably were all in it together and felt that way.
Yeah. And it's easy to think negative thoughts about the other tribe. So furloughed people might be feeling left out and that the people who are at work are changing stuff and taking over and they're being excluded. But it's easily for the people working to feel like they're picking up all the slack and the furloughed people are having quite a nice holiday and some time off, which I suspect it doesn't feel like if you're being furloughed.
How does that play out as well as things change over the next few weeks and months and more people go back to an office environment and some people don't? That's only going to exacerbate that, isn't it?
It is, yeah, because you've got different groupings and different feelings. And this is all to do with identity and how we perceive ourselves. So there's kind of a common theory known as social identity theory that says we are, or our understanding of ourselves is based on the groups we feel we belong to, the labels we associate with, and the ones we reject, the ones we're not part of. So you could easily see somebody going, well, I'm here saving the business. I'm part of this working tribe. And they're part of the lazy tribe, the non-working tribe.
It's interesting that word lazy, I wonder how many times it's unspoken. It's felt, but unspoken, because there is this feeling about, but they're not really doing anything, are they? Because they're not here.
Yeah, and I wonder whether, like you said, Rob, at the beginning of all this, everyone galvanised, didn't they? There was common enemy, common purpose. So people that were furloughed, I think there was an opinion of, okay, I'll do that because it's right for the business. But that may change. Their feeling about that may change over time. So you're right. Perhaps we start to create this, as Paul talks about, social identity and this theory, or this theory of there has to be an other that perhaps we are against, or certainly is not us. And furloughed people sort of fall into that category. What do you think, Ricky?
Well, I think it's really interesting how, like you said, we all kind of got on with it because we all had to. We were all equal. We were all away from the office. But now you're going to have this decisions being made without people necessarily being involved in all of those decisions. And quite often we like to be involved in the decisions and we like to have a say. And in the interests of expedience, people will be making decisions, moving things forward, which potentially could increase the isolation feeling for those that are left in a remote sense, or even worse, furloughed, because they're not even involved in the discussion, let alone the decision making.
We've just talked, haven't we, quite a bit about furloughed people, but actually as people start to work, some people go, and we've talking to a number of our customers this week, quite a few who are out in different parts of Europe have gone back to the office. So actually you're going to get power bases, aren't you, of people who are in the office, people who are working at home, and then you're going to get another group of perhaps people who are furloughed. Yeah,
and I think it's a disparate I'm going to say I can't even say this. Disparate distribution of power.
No, you're right. You can't say that.
Disparate distribution of power.
I'd stop trying.
Yeah, because well, I'm going to motor on through here because actually, you might have actually been quite an influential person before, but access to others might be now a key limitation in your ability to influence or progress agendas that you're trying to move forward, because you might be in a position where you're out of the office and 3 or 4 other people who see each other now regularly get to talk a lot more and have more informal off-the-record conversations that you're no longer involved in.
And that's interesting, because if you've been working in a remote sort of situation and thought that actually this quite suits me and I'm maybe more productive or at least as productive as I was before, it would be better for me not to be back in the office. And then you see this distribution of power. I'm not going to try and do the 2 words that you were trying to do, where it's unequal to you, or, you sort of go, hang on, this isn't suiting me. I need to get back into the office because my power base is now being disrupted.
It reminds me of, I remember years and years ago when I used to work for a large bank, and there was always this ivory tower thing thrown at head office. They made all these decisions and it affected all the people out in branches. But they didn't really have any concept of what it was like out in a branch. And it feels a bit like that might come back with some of this, that you might get 2 or 3 people that are back in the office making lots of decisions, cracking on with loads of work, and not really understanding how that feels for remote workers. And therefore you start to create different power bases, because if I'm in the office with a colleague, we can work on things, we can make decisions. We've got the benefit perhaps of even having other senior people around us, and we've got more social influence in power.
Well, I think access is a really important thing. I think, knowing where and who to go and see to have those conversations. A lot of people will have got things achieved, got things done by being around the old water cooler, the coffee machine, the restaurant, the cafe, or however you want to frame it, and they will have used that access, even though it was informal, in order to progress and move things forward. Just want to run something by you, all of those types of things that would have played out, and particularly if you're now at home and not having access to those opportunities, that's kind of changed your ability to influence.
It makes it a little more formal, doesn't it? Because we've all been there, and we've probably done it and we've observed it. But you've got a meeting going on in a boardroom. The meeting ends, and people scurry off into little groups that they want to do some influencing in outside of the meeting.
The after the meeting.
The after the meeting. If you're at home, it has to be a little more formal, because, like you say, you can't just go and have that conversation by the coffee machine. You're going to have to make a video call. You're going to have to put a Teams meeting in. You know what I mean?
Well, and you're coming off the last video call that you're on, sort of in content and the knowledge, but it's a false view that actually the meeting ended then at the point that you disconnected. And, to your point, it isn't.
So what does this all mean for leaders and managers then, as they think about their organisational culture that they're building, or might not even be aware that they're building as they come out of this?
Well, I think there's a couple of really key things. One is sort of the positive and a negative. So I'm going to start with a negative, which is that some people's behaviour will take advantage of this.
Yeah.
There are some people, we sort of jokingly call them foxes because we use that political model from Badley and James. But these people who are highly political aware, self-interested, this is a big advantage for that group of people, because they're going to get back into the office early and they're going to take control and they're going to take power. And that might be useful in some circumstances. I'm not necessarily saying that's always going to be wrong. It might be quite handy to let them do that, but also it might be quite destructive. So you're going to have to manage that scenario. But the positive is actually, as leaders, and this is kind of one of the sort of leadership ideas behind social identity, what we have to do is create an identity that unites the tribe. So we have to move people beyond home working and office-based, or furloughed and working, to some kind of common identity that they all share. And that might mean by identifying something external that unites people. Because that's kind of what happened at the start of this. At the start of this, the other was nasty virus, pandemic's coming, we're all in trouble, we need to go and do something about it and fix that.
Yeah, and that common enemy for at the moment feels like it's subsiding, doesn't it? And that is then do we then create these 2 tribes or 3 tribes or whatever it is? So when you talk about creating another, is that a competitor? Is that something in another what is it? Something in another industry? What sort of thing might it be?
Well, for me, it can be anything that is external to the group. So that what we're trying to do is create another that means the whole group can be part of the thing, not of the other. So it's external to the group, is easily identifiable so that we can see what it is, and is not necessarily negative, because othering and this idea of creating another can be quite a negative thing. And we're seeing huge amounts in society at the moment where this is used in quite bad ways to kind of go, I'll solve all your problems, it's their fault. And that's not where we're saying here. What we're saying here is to identify something that unites the group against, so it could be it could be a competitor. So it could be, look, actually, it's not, Group A versus Group B. It's not sales versus support within the organization. It's all of us together to make sure we're the market leader. But it could also be against an idea. So the other might be, a second wave of pandemic, or the oncoming economic recession, or, so it's just something to go, we are a group of people united in our beliefs about this and opposed to that.
Yeah.
Because the danger of not doing that is that people will find that other for themselves.
Yeah.
So there may very well be within the same company a silo mentality emerging where, marketing blames sales or research blames somebody else because they just feel that actually they've got to have somebody to blame because they're not united.
Yeah, we need another. We need another, and you go. It's not really kind of surprising that we pick something we can see, because even just describing it to you a second ago, it's quite difficult to work out. Well, what is it we're against? What are we not? And if you're, I'm just going to take sales as an example. If I'm a salesperson, you're going to look around and go, what am I not? Well, I'm picking the competitors. Quite a difficult, abstract idea. But to go, I'm not a service person. I'm not a technical person. I'm not management. That's easy because I know who that is. I can identify it and go, yep, definitely not one of those.
And particularly when you've probably struggled with some of those other departments in the past as well. So it's an easy return to normal because service has always held up my sales commission. It's always held up, marketing don't give us the right products. They don't give us the right coverage, all of those things. It's easy to look internally because, like you say, because we can see them. And there's a familiarity in blaming them that we've had since the dawn of time type thing.
So the role for leaders for me is about, identifying what is that purpose, what's that thing that unites us, and creating a single tribe out of these disparate tribes that we've accidentally created. And that's about combining them about what they are, but also helping them identify what they're not, identifying that other that's external, that's unique, but represents all of them. And there's kind of an argument that says that the role of leadership is not to necessarily be part of the group, but to be prototypical of the group, to represent the group in the best possible way, to have their interests, unite them around that common purpose.
So it's also a really good time to acknowledge and think about, are you unwittingly creating these tribes?
Yeah.
It's also a really good time to think about company culture, company values. Could organizations start to use the values, if they've got them, and work them out to help them navigate this as well? So it strikes me that it would be a very good time to re-engage with that sort of stuff to help bring people together, whilst you then start to think about the common purpose and the common other that you're working against.
Even if it's a reminder, let's remind each other what we stand for and what we're supposed to be doing, so that there is that rallying call to get everybody together.
To me, it's not just reminding people, but it's also calling out where people start othering internally, where people go, but it's all their fault. Just to remind people that actually, to progress in an economic climate that we're just heading into, salespeople can't do it without marketing and product and service and support and technical and all the other things that come together that creates the end thing for the customer. And othering cannot be acceptable.
Ricky, final point?
I think that I would agree with that entirely. I think my point was, as leaders, you're looking to test this because the reality is it happens. It's been happening for as long as anybody who's been in a corporate environment, anybody who's been in an organizational environment will know this happens anyway. The meeting after the meeting is unacceptable. If you couldn't say it in the meeting, why were you there in the first place? And I think as leaders, to Paul's point, you've got to seek it out and you've got to eliminate it. You've got to challenge it and also help people to understand what the implications of that are. What are the side effects? What's the caustic effect it has on the culture, as you said, Richard? So I think leaders should be looking to test this on a regular basis because it's there, it has been. And the reality is it's going to manifest itself in different ways, as we've all described throughout this session.
So I think actually we're sort of rounding off that we probably have actually created two tribes. And in principle, leaders, it's our job together to unpick that and get people back to a common purpose and a common group and a single tribe that delivers against our organizational goals.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Next time on The Question Is...
Why does the organization want me to do this? What is it going to look like? What have I got to do? There are so many different questions that people actually have going on in their minds because they are less certain of what they thought they knew.
Thinking Focus works with teams and business units in organizations around the world, helping them achieve breakthroughs by enabling them to think differently. To find out more about our work and how we could help your organization, go to www.thinkingfocus.com.